There are several challenges and new chances facing people today, and people's responses to them are somewhat different depending on their context, goals, and interest. If you want to have better insight into how you deal with challenges and discover other opportunities for productive impact, then you are in the right place as we reveal how you can deal with challenges and maximize opportunities. Welcome to the Skills Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Gbenga Lawal, author of This Space, Your Place. Dive in with us into Power Mind Results as we'll explore talent, skill set, and experience. If you're ready for a giant leap into success accomplishments, this is the space. This is your place. Get ready and let's get started. Definitely, these are frightening times for people and businesses. And one reason given for these startling times is the increasing threat of disruptive change. In other words, the nature of our work and how we do businesses are changing so rapidly that the rigid job structures now impede the success of what we do. And that too may as well change in the next moment. We are surely faced with increasing technological changes, structural changes, environmental changes, as they are accelerated at a faster rate in individual endeavors and present global business fields. Challenges and opportunities for individual and organizational behavior are massive and rapidly changing for improving productivity, meeting expectations, and business goals. Today, I have the pleasure of discussing this important issue with someone who has experience in facing challenges and seizing opportunities. He's my good friend, Deane Coe. Deane is a chartered electrical engineer who worked previously as an engineer, progressed into management, later switched from full-time employment as a general manager into managing his own enterprise 13 years ago. He is a private mathematics tutor covering all levels of mathematics up to degree level. Married with 2 children, it is a joy to have you on the Skills Mindset Podcast. Deane, you are welcome.
Well, thank you very much, Gbenga. Thank you for the welcome, and it's a great privilege to be on your podcast. I've been enjoying listening to the previous podcasts, so it's been very enriching for me, and it's good to hear, different perspectives from different people. So that's been a great blessing. So hopefully, what we can talk about today is going to be helpful for other people as well.
That's so true. Thank you for doing that. You've been listening to some of our episodes, which is interesting, and I'm encouraged by you saying that. Thank you so much for doing that. That's so kind of you. And I hope, whatever episode you have listened to, maybe all, must have also contributed or had some impact, impart your knowledge as well.
For sure.
Thank you. So then we want to know, could you share your background and story with us? We know that today we are talking about, how we deal with challenges of our lives and how we also look closely into identifying some opportunities and see how we can explore those opportunities to our advantage as well. But in your own words, do you want to share a bit of your background and your story, highlighting any challenges or opportunities that you face and or created along your journey?
Yeah, sure. So I think, like most people, there's been many challenges, many opportunities. Some of them are quite big and quite life-changing. Some of them are relatively small, but nevertheless, they're challenges and they're opportunities, and they can come in all sort of shapes and sizes. So I was wondering to talk about one particular one rather than lots of little ones, but I can talk about the smaller ones as well if you'd like me to. But I was thinking, I had in mind sort of quite a big transition. But it was a big transition for me and for my wife when I changed from being employed, have an employment contract, a salary, a full-time. When I say contract, that's not really quite true. It was an open-ended employment contract. It wasn't time limited, and that was paying me a salary, a reasonable salary, and it's certainly good enough for us to live on. This is before we had children.
Okay.
But I had certain circumstances in my life which were going on. I suppose the main one was that my dad, he's not with us anymore, but at the time he had quite a lot of health problems, sort of multiple health problems. So it was getting more and more challenging for me to take time off work and, to go to the hospital appointments because he couldn't take himself there. I'd have to go with him, etc. So it was getting more and more challenging because, there's only so many days you can take off work. If you're working for an employer, there's only so many days that you can do that. So this was quite a personal challenge for us. We'd only, Francis, my wife and I, we'd only recently got married. So it was quite a personal challenge for us. But anyway, it's one of those things, if I can say that God's timing is always perfect. God's timing is always perfect. It may not feel like it at the time, but God's timing, and definitely in hindsight, when I look back in retrospect, God's timing was perfect because I believe God spoke to me and he said, now is your time to teach. And even when I was a small boy, I knew that I was going to be a mathematics tutor. It was interesting. I already knew that.
How old were you then at that time?
Ever since I can remember, maybe age 8, 9, or
wow.
And from that age onwards, people say to me, "What would you like to be when you grow up?"
Exactly.
And I said, "Well, I'm going to be a mathematics teacher," but I even knew then it was going to be later in life.
I like that.
I don't know how I knew. I knew I was going to be doing other work first. And the interesting thing is, I wouldn't have called myself a Christian then. So I wasn't really thinking about God, and I wasn't really thinking, "Oh, God has said to me, blah, blah, blah."
Yeah.
But I knew in my heart that that's what I was going to be doing later in life. I knew I wasn't going to go, straight into it when I was in my 20s. I knew I was going to be doing it later in life. So I'm 60 now, and all this particular change took place around about the age of 47, something like that. So it was something that was happening later in life. And I remember in your excellent book, if I may say so,
you're free.
You do mention in there, it's never too late. It's never too late to start on the next venture or chapter or whatever that may be.
Yes.
So really 47, actually, I think is quite young.
Oh, yes, you still have the opportunities. You can still
but some people
do a
might
lot
think,
of different
well,
things.
47, surely you should be established, doing, progressing in your career.
Yeah,
so I felt the Lord was saying that to me, it's now your time to teach, and really to work in a school as a teacher. It wouldn't really have helped the situation with my dad because you're still working during the daytime, and as a teacher you can't really take time off apart from the school holidays. So my dad's hospital appointments were, they're not going to limit them to the school holidays. They would come up as and when they were needed. So that's when it sort of the whole situation, if you like, led me to start a tutoring business, to do private tutoring. And so that was quite a big challenge because I was going from having a salaried job as a general manager, going down to zero income.
That would be challenging, to be honest.
That is very challenging. So that was a big challenge. And maybe in hindsight, I possibly could have managed it differently. Financially, I could have managed it differently. Maybe some of your listeners might be thinking, but I would have a different strategy for that, which is fine. They probably have got a different strategy. But my strategy was I'd been saving up some money because I knew that this was going to come at some point. I didn't know when it was going to come. So I had been saving up some money. So I had some savings in the bank. And basically my wife and I, we were living off those savings. And then my wife also managed to get a job in the local area. So we had some of her income was helping us, and I had my savings as well. And then started off with nothing. I created a website that had all my details on there. If anyone needed to contact me, I just wrote out some small adverts and just put them in local places. And, well, I just had to trust God, really, that something was going to happen.
Yeah.
And there were, to be honest, there were times where I was a bit discouraged.
Yeah.
And, you know, the sort of things we're talking about, we can all go through periods of discouragement.
Yes. So true.
Where nothing was seen to be happening.
A defining moment.
Exactly.
Wow.
Nothing seemed to be happening at all. And I felt the Lord saying, there's a scripture that says, do not despise small beginnings. Because I was thinking, I don't like this. You know, when I say small beginnings, I mean nothing was happening.
Nothing beginning, nothing in the beginning. That's what he wanted to say.
Yeah,
it was not even small. It was nothing. It was a zero beginning.
Exactly. How small can you get?
Yeah.
So, but anyway, thank God the work started to trickle through, and then I had some customers, and then of course the good thing is the customers I had, they would then tell other people, and they say, oh, you know, I've got this maths tutor, you know, so I'm happy with everything, and they would tell their friends, and then really, I think it was within, you know, by God's grace, I'd say within about 18 months, I was actually fully booked.
Wow, that's lovely. From zero to fully booked.
Yeah, I was fully booked, and people were saying, oh, wow, okay, so you have to turn people away. I said, yeah, if someone contacts me, I have to say, sorry, I'm not booked. I'm now, you know, I've started a waiting list.
Oh, that's
and
interesting.
I think, to me, I have to put it down to God's provision. I mean, if our listeners, you know, whether they're God-fearing people or not, I don't know, but I would put it down to God's provision. It was God, you know, who told me to do that. He told me when to do it. I didn't really get that much detail in terms of how I was going to do that. But I did get the encouragement from him, you know, do not despise small beginnings. So that was like encouraging to say, well, yeah, so things are going to get bigger. It's got a small beginning. And I think even just that statement, I'm hoping will be, you know, valuable to to the listeners of your podcast, that everything that we start has a small beginning.
Definitely.
So, you know, if you're going to start any enterprise or whatever it might be,
it starts small.
Whether it's it starts small, nothing starts big.
Think big. Start small, think big, grow big.
Yeah, we can think big. That's good. It's definitely good to think big.
Yeah.
But everything starts small.
There's
true. Not, and even if you think about all the companies or organisations there are around the world now, some of them are very big, but they didn't start off very big.
Yeah.
They didn't, you know, they didn't sit down at the table and say, right, let's start off big. They started off small. So I think we can encourage each other by the fact that all things, whatever they are, they start off small.
Wow.
So I think that was a good example about the sort of thing you're talking about, challenges and opportunities, because it was an opportunity, but it was also a challenge. And in a way, looking back, it was good that I had that transition before I was fully booked, because how can I put it? I naively thought that I would remember all my mathematics from years ago. I naively thought I could just
get into it.
Recall all that information over a weekend. But then when I started looking through all my old books, I realised, I've got some work to do here. So I had to go through a period of refreshment and training. I signed up for an Open University course.
Lovely.
I did a mathematics diploma course, and although I was already familiar with all the material because of my previous studies, it was a very good thing for me to do to refresh my own knowledge, and that's something we all have to do, is to refresh
definitely
our own knowledge. We might think we're knowledgeable on a subject, but not. Maybe we all need a bit of refreshment. to remind ourselves of things and catch up on the latest syllabus. For me particularly, is catching up on the latest syllabus for the GCSE, which is the UK sort of high school level GCSE, and A level, which is like for children between 16 and 18.
Yeah.
So the bulk of my students are between the ages of, say, 12 to 18, the bulk of them. But I do have some adults as well, studying at a high
Because
level.
I know you teach up to degree level now. Your syllabus covers up to, university level, right?
Yeah, exactly. In fact, because of my engineering background, my specialisation is in engineering mathematics. So I do have students who are adults, and they're at uni, and they're studying engineering mathematics, and they're those people I really enjoy helping them as well. So, that was the transition, and I think some things I learnt about that along the way is to enjoy the journey.
Exactly.
Because for all of us, we're on a journey, whatever it might be, and I think it's getting the balance between how can I put it, arriving, and if I can say driving, if you know the analogy of driving a car. Yes, it's good we all want to arrive there, but it's also good to enjoy the journey. And in fact, God had to remind me of that several times, because you can be a bit discouraged or whatever, or things don't seem to be happening, and I just felt the Lord saying, just enjoy the journey.
Yes, I think that's very cool. That's very cool, because you said you enjoyed the journey. You can say that now, isn't it? But I would rather say that you trusted the process, and that's why you could enjoy the journey, because it was a process that it was a period in your life that you have a choice to make. It was a period where you got to take a decision, and then I think you took a decision that was not easy, and that was a decision that would take you on a long journey to where you are today. And you started the journey very small, like you said, and that was a situation where I thought the process was not even clearly defined to you, but then you trusted that this is what you wanted to do, and whatever it is on that journey, you are ready to go through it, and this is where you are now. Thank you so much for that. I think that will help someone there. You see, every destination embarks on it, on the first step, and it's a journey depending on where you are going and how long that distance will be from where you are, and that's why we manage challenges differently depending on our context and depending on our interest, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I was going to say that we know now that there are so many. I mean, let's make it a bit. Let's help somebody there from your experience. Actually, I know there are so many challenges out there, and it happens to people differently. But paramount amongst the challenges that people face these days that are perhaps common to all. We have the problems or the challenges of the cost of living, the lack of participation in decision making as well processes, and of course, you can't underestimate the challenge of unemployment, particularly among the young people. The pressure that comes with also the pressure of materialism and other life-changing issues. But if truly challenging is a situation or a problem that requires you to use your skills, knowledge, and creativity, like you have just deployed some, or resources to overcome it, what are the tools? What are the skills? What are the precise knowledge or creativity or ideas that you deploy into facing those challenges? Where did you get the strength, the tenacity, the conviction? What gave you the boldness to forge ahead amidst of all these troubles or challenges you face at that time?
Yeah, well, I'd say in my case, it was God himself who encouraged me, because even when I told people in the circle of people that I was, where I was working, there, there was a circle of people there, and they said, "Oh, have you done your market research to see if is there a demand, for maths tutoring in your area? But are you going to earn enough money from that?" And also, there was around about that time there was a bit of an economic downturn. I know we seem to have a lot of economic downturns, but there was one at that time, and people were saying, "Oh, well, is that really a wise thing to do?" So I think if you're a believer, well, we get our strength from God, and God will encourage us, and God will bring people alongside us. So my wife, for example, would encourage me. People who understand that what you're doing is the right thing to do would encourage you. But there are, I think, in anything in life, there's going to be people who may be suspicious of what you do. When I say suspicious, I mean they're thinking, "Oh, is this person? Are you sure you really want to do that?" Well, I think one strategy is not to listen too much to the negative talking, because you don't have to search too far before you find someone who's going to say something negative. So, "Oh, you really sure about this? Is it really going to work? But we have to take our strength from the Lord. And you mentioned earlier about people struggling financially and everything like that. Well, yeah, that is a big challenge for all of us. But we have to trust that God does provide. And because of things like the internet now, and we've got, particularly in the UK, we've got access to very good education. But even if you're on a low income, I think you'll find that you can join courses for free or at a very low cost. I think in the past you've even sent some round, on our WhatsApp group to say, check out this course. So I can't really speak about other nations, but in the UK, there are plenty of opportunities, even if it's just a temporary thing, to keep you, how can I put it, to keep you ticking over. There are plenty of resources, plenty of courses. And in fact, even though I mentioned I did that Open University course, I did a lot of my A-level and GCSE, which is really, for school children aged 12 to 18. I did a lot of preparation for that online myself, just by downloading free resources. And I maybe spent something like less than £100 on textbooks and that type of thing. So in my particular case, it wasn't I didn't need a massive amount of financial resources. And I think that will be the case for a lot of people, that there's a lot of free resources out there, even like your podcast. It's free, isn't it?
Just subscribe
you just sign up to the podcast platform, and I've been listening to it.
You can even share it.
Yeah, you get it free, and I've learned a lot already from your podcast. Yeah, I've learned a lot already from your podcast and other people's podcasts, and it's free. And I think we're blessed because of the technology, because of the internet, and because of the podcasts. There's so many resources that are free. So I don't think that our financial situation, if we're on the lower end of the income spectrum, I don't think that can really stop us. And even, you read success, when I say success, people have built up a business from scratch. Some of those people, they didn't have anything. They didn't have anything at all. They just had themselves. And they just found resources to help them. And if it's a God-given vision, then he will give you the resources. He'll guide you where to get things. And the other thing, of course, we can talk to other people in our, circle of friends who might know someone else. And I think in my early days, some people put me in touch with other mathematics tutors. They said, "Oh, why don't you speak to so-and-so?" So they can give you some valuable, input.
Wow.
And that type of thing. There's always people around. Excuse me. There's always people around who can help and give you some positive guidance, but I think we do have to be careful, to filter out the negative talk, if I can put it that way, that might even come from yourself.
Thank you so much for that. And that's I can get from what you've said now, and I hope listeners are also getting some nugget from this or some tips, because again, you talking about challenges, you've actually identified it as a situation where you require some skills, some knowledge, support to navigate through it, because you see, you don't want to stay in that situation perpetually. You want to really come out of that situation. You want to deal with that challenge, and dealing with it could also require you to, acquire some new skills, isn't it? Like you said, or seek for support, or get into learning new skills and acquire required knowledge, and ask questions. These are the things I'm getting from what you're saying. Ask questions, ask people. And I think there is always a way that you can be directed into forging ahead and dealing with it. Because again, yes, challenges are not situation that happen to one, but it happens to all. But you can ask people who have gone through that line before, or that situation before. They will be glad to share their experiences. They'll be glad to share some tips. They will be even glad to show you quicker ways of dealing with it or more effective way of dealing with it than the way you are trying to deal with it. Because again, like I said, there are so many things happening to so many different people, and we deal with situation differently. But I believe that you are not alone. Means that there are people who have also faced with that situation that you can learn from, just like you are sharing with us. A lot of people will have given up, and life will have turned the other way, and situation will have been different to what we are saying now. So if I then ask you, what are your present situation and what are your goals from now?
Yes, my present situation, so I'm still I'm doing the mathematics tutoring. Still doing the tutoring. I'm still fully booked. I'm exploring, what I'm going to be doing next. I may be carrying on with the tutoring for some time, but I suppose you asked about goals, but maybe for me, I probably think of them as dreams, if I can put it that way, rather than goals. So, for example, I'm learning the piano. I've done some courses on piano, and I'm also teaching myself. When I say teaching myself, I'm obtaining resources and working through those resources. I haven't actually got a teacher at the moment, and I'll consider that as well as things progress. And that's probably more of a dream, but I don't know quite what the difference is between a dream and a goal. It's always been my dream to play the piano. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm really teaching myself to play the piano. I'm also doing a project on a much smaller scale. I'm doing a project in our house to give us a backup if there's a power cut or power failure.
Yes, I get that. Yeah.
So I think I mentioned that project to you. So about a year ago, I set up a system so that my office would still function, because I work from home. So I've got my home office, that my office would still function in the event of a power cut. But that was restricted just purely my office, not the rest of the house. But I'm now extending that. And in fact, this past week, I've just been installing a system that is now operational, and it will back up our heating system. So if there is a power cut, our central heating system...
You're getting into invention.
Because that was
new innovation
of interest.
I like that.
Yeah. Well, it's a good thing, because we did, I don't know if I told you last,
really?
In fact, it was a week ago today, we did have a power cut in our area. It was only for about 15, 20 minutes. Yeah. But nevertheless, it was freezing cold. I mean, it's very cold now. It was freezing cold then. And I started thinking, well, okay, it was good that it was only 15, 20 minutes, but what about if it was a few hours?
That's true.
It wouldn't take long for the temperature in your house to start to get to an uncomfortable level. So I thought, no, I don't want that situation to happen. So I guess I'm thinking along the terms of, the general heading of contingency. What's our backup, and I'm realising I'm getting a growing interest in what we call contingency. What's your backup plan if, something goes wrong? And I think that covers a whole range of things. Maybe some of your other podcasts have already covered things like diversity. So, for example, my only income at the moment is from mathematics tutoring. But I think it's good, and that's probably my next thing that I'm going to be doing, is to think, well, how can I diversify so that I'm not exclusively relying on that particular income.
To hear that.
And some of that I've already started, as you know. The things I've been doing is really to do with investing. So I've had some investing in the stock market and some investing in property development. And that's not buying property. That's really invested in platforms where they then lend the money to other people to do the property development, and then you have a return on that, which is higher than inflation. So we're not using that as an income now because we don't really need to use that. But having investments, I think a lot of our listeners will be interested in that, whether it's investment in property or the stock market, or however, whatever your investment portfolio looks like. I think it's a good thing to do, so you're not exclusively looking at the income from your employment, if I can put it that way. And it does gives us flexibility. I think, for anyone, it gives you a bit of flexibility. And other people I've spoken to have done the same thing as well. And it seems to be, I think it does depend what circle of people you move in. There's some people who never even dream of having more than one income stream. But I first heard about that from some Americans. I've got some American friends, and they, were saying, "Oh, how's your work going?" I said, "Well, we've got 3 or 4 different income. We don't just have one job. We might have the main job, and then we'll have 2 or 3, maybe 4 other income streams are coming in." Not that it's all about money. God does warn us that not to have a love of money. It's not really about that. It's just about diversifying and using the God-given resources that we have in terms of skills, talents, and so on. So I think
exactly,
it's good to talk to people to find out. I was going to say that.
Now I got your progression as to where from your present situation now to where you are looking ahead, which of course talking about diversification and getting into, and that's what led you into new innovations, inventions, and all that, and of course into investment, and then looking for the opportunities that you can now explore, because your present situation granted you the opportunity to do that. And just simply because you've got vision and you've got foresight as to what you need to do, because situation will not always remain the same, isn't it? And you've got to think ahead and plan ahead. And that's what I think is what you are doing, which is quite, essential, particularly when we are looking at the present cost of living, which is also increasing. And of course, also with the changes that is in this world. I mean, how do you want to place the recent, global pandemic and relating that to the global economic situation? You'll be amazed at how much people now thinking about to increase and improve their income as well, and to enhance their capacity to earn money so that they can sort out their lifestyle. They can continue to live the life they want to live, or the life they've been living, which is good. And that not necessarily saying the accumulation of money for nothing. It's also because it's for a purpose. Thank you for that, and I think that is very important. So, in the midst of the challenges, you were able to identify some opportunities that is also leading you into some other outlets that you are exploring. An opportunity definitely is an instance that allows you to achieve a positive outcome, isn't it? Such as your personal or professional growth. And of course, I think that gives you a kind of a competitive advantage. And that is not to say that you are competing with anybody, but it gives you an edge to be able to ease off pressure, ease off stress, manage some situation. Look at cost of living. If you have other sources of income or sources of income, cost of living to you may not be that too much in terms of pressure, because you have other ways by which you can deal with your finances and your excesses, if that is the case. But again, it's very important that we know that we deal with challenges, we manage we maximize opportunities. That is the beauty of what is happening to you. But you said something that I like to bring you back on, and this is what I saw in what you said. You started off as an electrical engineer, isn't it? And then, of course, you went into mathematics. But it appears that you are now going back into where you started from, which is funny, which is fascinating, which is very interesting, And that's actually a typical example of a lifestyle, because at the end of the day, no knowledge is lost. You are a chartered electrical engineer. Now you are deploying that full-fledged knowledge and experience into inventing things for yourself, starting from your house, doing it from even within your house, you sorting it out from your office first, from your home office, what I mean, from your study, and then trying to expand that to the whole house. Who knows, your neighbors may be benefiting something so soon. So and that is all because of what you have put yourself into, allowing yourself to learn, allow yourself to grow, allow yourself never to be stranded, not to give up and give in to negative influences, and not allow challenges to weigh you down. Now you are still tutoring, and also we are now exploring your electrical engineering skills into getting some backup power into your house. That's fantastic. What do you think about that? What a challenge you have, opportunity you have there. Sorry.
Yeah, it is a challenge and an opportunity. Yeah, it's I'm blessed in that way. I mean, even though so I went from engineering into general management and then into tutoring, I've never really given up.
Yeah.
My sort of fascination with electrical things, because I think, when you just think, even you just look at a socket on the wall and you just plug your appliance into that socket, I don't want to say it's a miracle.
It gives you a sense of satisfaction, a kind of pleasure, that wow, a pride. So if you like, for yourself, that you're happy with yourself, you're doing something.
It is, to me, it's a fascinating part of life. Just electricity and electronics, and I like looking into the history of that, and people like Michael Faraday. He pioneered things, he invented things and discovered things, and you think he didn't have any equipment because the equipment didn't exist. It's like, and you think these people were definitely, I would say, divinely inspired, and I just find the whole thing quite fascinating, that God has given us this power, if you like, to live, to have lighting, to have our appliances, our computers, etc., etc. And I think it is a real blessing. So I've never really lost that fascination with it. And in fact, I enjoy. Almost, I'm looking for projects that've got some sort of electrical application, if
Get
you like.
Engaged,
just to sort of keep my interest in that field going. And so, and it's a learning process now for me. I'm learning about all the different devices that are available to back up your house in the event of a power cut. And in the UK, that's sort of unusual, because historically, for decades, our system has been very reliable. So it's not really in the UK culture to think, how am I going to back up my electricity supply?
Listen, I like to encourage you that you might not be doing it for regions like Europe or UK. There are a lot of places that would need that. So you keep doing what you're doing. there are some people waiting for it. I can tell you that. So, and it may not be in the UK. It may as well be in the UK, but see beyond the border and the shore of United Kingdom for what you're doing, because as you know, whatever it is you do, people need it, and wherever people lives, that's where your service may be required or needed. Yeah. So I just said I should put that one there to encourage you to keep doing what you're doing. Don't say that you may not be having the market or demand for it here, but I can tell you there are people and some other continent who really requires and will need it. So keep doing it. And like you always said at the beginning, you don't despise when you're starting so small or even at the zero level. So just keep doing what you're doing. Do it and think big. Start small, think big. I think that's one of the tools by which you deal with challenges. Yes, it doesn't have to happen overnight, but as long as you keep to it, keep focused and keep working on it, I think the situation will always change.
Now, I was going to say the other thing that came to mind, people that I've read about who overcome things, a lot of it is not being discouraged by what might be regarded as a failure. And a lot of these people, even if you think about scientists who've made discoveries, they might have done lots of experiments. They didn't find anything. They didn't just say, right, okay, that's it, I'll pack up, I'm going to, just get a job, doing something completely different. They just persevered, and they said, okay, if that didn't work, let me try something different.
Exactly.
Let's see if this works. And I think that's a life skill, isn't it? To say, okay, this thing I tried, it didn't work. Okay, what can I do? Let's change it. Maybe in a big way, maybe in a small. Maybe I only have to change a small thing, and then I can, make an improvement.
Exactly.
And that's a life skill, just to keep that perseverance going.
Yeah, we do. I mean, you said something.
I think we all need
about 18 months for you to
we?
get into. I mean, from the time you started your private tutoring, it took you about 18 months to get to where you are. You can say yes, you are now in business. If you get what I'm trying to say, so you could have given up the first month, second month, the first year. 18 months is not a joke, but you were patiently waiting for that time to come, doing something. To be patient does not mean you are waiting, folding your hands. It's also to be sure that you are pruning and taking care of some things, working on some things, and because that this is going to work out, and it's working well for you to the extent that now you can take from the proceed of that into looking at some other things, and investment are inclusive. So I think it's a great and positive outcomes you have there. Well done to you.
Thank you, sir.
Now, how will you advise, or what are your recommendations for the listeners? Because to be honest, people are going through challenges, and some may think that they can't even see any green light, shining anywhere, or they don't even can think. They lack the capacity to have the foresight, to have the vision, to even see any positive in the situation. How can you advise them, and what are the recommendations you can give to them, please?
Well, first of all, I'd say from a spiritual point of view, if you're a believer, ask for God to help you. Ask for God's help. There's nothing wrong with that at all. In fact, I believe God wants us to ask for His help. And even if you're not a believer, ask for God to help you. I know that might sound strange. Actually, before I became a Christian, I used to pray to God. You think, hold on a minute, that doesn't make any sense. I used to pray to God to help Him, to ask Him to help me believe in Him, if I can put it that way. So whether you're a believer or not, ask God to help you, and He will help you. Another thing I think that hopefully will be helpful to the listeners is there's lots of things in life. Maybe you've never done it before. Maybe you've never done this particular activity or this project or this job before, but you probably can do it. And as we touched on a bit earlier, there's so many resources now. I've done things that I've never done before just by watching things on YouTube. You just type in, what was it, a few years ago, we had to replace the basin in our downstairs toilet, closet, bathroom, yeah. And I've never replaced the basin before. I've never fitted a basin and a vanity unit. I thought, well, maybe I can learn how to do it. So I just go onto YouTube, and then that was it. I've watched, spent some time looking on YouTube, and then I thought, okay, yeah, I can do that. And I just, so that was just one example. I'm not saying everyone should go out and fit a water basin. It's just an example where you haven't necessarily got the background or the knowledge to do something, but you can look it up either on YouTube or ask someone. And I think some of it is not in a prideful way, but believing in yourself, believing that you can do it. Because lots of things, even if you think, say for example, you see building something on a brick wall, or something like that. I've never done bricklaying before in my life. But I sort of think
you can learn it.
He's just a human like me.
If he can do it,
maybe I can do it.
If you really,
and that's true of anything.
Up to it.
Yeah. Or if you're, let's say a highly skilled job like a surgeon, a hospital surgeon. Well, they didn't come out of their mother's womb. They weren't born a surgeon. They didn't come out and said, straight away, can you do this operation? I need a baby. So they had to go through a process, and all of us, whatever it might be, have to go through a process. So even if you're young or whatever age you are, and you're thinking, I don't know what to do next. I don't know. I haven't got any skills. Well, you have got potential to learn skills. Everyone's got the potential to learn skills. Maybe not everyone's a company director. Not everyone's a CEO. That's just one measure of how you might describe success. You could be serving in your community in lots of different ways. You could even start off doing voluntary work to learn skills, to learn some life skills. And there's plenty, especially in the UK, there's so many opportunities to do anything. I think God has created, the economy of the world in such a way that we are interdependent on each other.
That's why we need support.
So we've all got our own strengths and weaknesses. I don't mean that we can all do everything.
We need one another to get by.
Yeah, exactly. So we can't all do. If you look at one person, might not be able to do everything. But the other side of the coin is you can't say that one person can do nothing. There's not. I don't believe there's one person who could actually honestly say, "Oh, I can't do anything." Well, you can. But you might have to try. You might have to experiment with this thing, and then maybe, okay, you're not suited to that. Let me experiment with something else. And I think there's so many opportunities. I think it's just having that hope, isn't it? Having that hope. And I think God gives us that hope. And I think as well, if you are in that situation, you are feeling hopeless, I think speak to people who don't feel hopeless, who don't have that, who do have a positive sense of hope. Speak to people like that. Maybe switch off the television, switch off the news, because if you're feeling hopeless and you're going to listen to the 9 o'clock news,
there's no news in that.
You probably feel more hopeless.
no good news in the news. I know.
It's the negative news. So we've discussed that before, haven't we? They should rename it the negative news. Yeah. So, and to be honest, I'm blessed to have. There's certain people who are full of hope, full of positive advice, and the circle of friends I've met really through you and other people through church, etc. They're all positive. Thinkers and they have that positive vibe about them, that there's always an opportunity out there, even if you have to change completely what you're doing. completely. It can be done. I think in your book, you mentioned Colonel Sanders, who was in his late 60s when he started Kentucky Fried Chicken, and you think, well, even if you're whether you're 99 or whether you're 19, you can start anything. You can start anything. But I think a lot of it is having that hope and having that awareness that there are so many gaps for you to fill. And I think that's really what you cover in your book, isn't it? It's what are you as a person? What gap are you going to fill? You're going to fulfill somebody else's need.
Yeah.
Even if it's something, I'm just thinking out loud now, just something like gardening. If you want to learn how to do gardening, that's someone else's need. Someone else has got a big garden. They haven't got time to manage their garden. So there you are. You're the person who can...
There's opportunity in every level.
Help manage their garden.
In every level. And what I mean by labor is putting some effort. And then there's no... I mean, you will always gain, a lot of people are just too overwhelmed with the situation around them. I think if they can just... it's tough, but if you can just look away from the situation for a moment and just see some light, breathe in some fresh air. I always tell people a way of testing the weight of what you are facing is if those things are not present at the moment in your situation or your life, what would you have done? Does that make sense? If you are not challenged in that, what would you have done? So let that which you will have done be dominant, situation around you. Use that as an environment where you want to function. And before you know it, the challenges will just disappear, with time. Because it takes energy from within you as well to foster into getting into where you want to go and to push into where you really want to be. And like you said, it will connect you with positive people. It will connect you with right-minded people. You will be able to work on your mind. You'll be able to work on your skills. You'll be able to be creative still. Because God, I've never seen anyone that is without a gift or skill. You got to just know what it is and develop it. And that is a free gift that can earn you big money or can deliver you from your troubles, because skills deliver people from troubles. I hope you know that. You don't have to have money, but if you have skill enough, you can never be stranded. You won't be stranded. That I know that for a fact. So I think that is what we need to look into, and then of course begin to embrace. So I don't know if you have any final words as we bring this to a short close, or perhaps you want to summarize some of the some key facts and key advice you giving to our people.
Yeah, sure. Before I sort of try to summarize, just to mention something else as well, we might end up doing some employment or some form of work which is not really our ultimate goal, if you like, but it could be something that starts the whole journey. Because I was speaking to someone recently who's got a PhD now. He's got a PhD in computer science, but he in his early days he was doing cleaning toilets. So because you need an income to buy your food, for your accommodation, etc. So it's some things we might have to do. It's just part of our journey. We might have to do. I mean, I've done jobs like that as well. I've done very basic jobs just to keep myself ticking over, but they weren't like the job. It wasn't really that I wanted to do that, continuously. But those things can give us a springboard into something else. You can use that, pay your bills, save a bit of money, and maybe that the money you save then can go to pay for some training. As you said, to develop your skills, to increase your knowledge, etc. So I'm just thinking, we have to encourage each other to say, well, even if you know what you're going to be doing, you might have to start off doing something different, just to get you moving, if I can put it that way. So maybe just a few summary thoughts would be something like, enjoy the journey. Yeah. And even if you start off as a cleaner, nothing against cleaners. Cleaning is a good thing. Everyone likes clean things.
Yeah.
If we go into a restaurant and the toilet's dirty, we don't like it. So cleaning is a good thing. I don't mean to demean cleaning in any way at all. Cleaning is a good thing. So enjoy the journey. I'd say ask for God's help. I think something that, as well, you mentioned in your book is don't be driven by competition. So we can, we can be discouraged if you compare ourselves to someone else. Someone else is, they're 10 years younger than me. Look, they're so much further ahead. Well, there'll always be someone who's ahead of us. There's always going to be someone. So we should not turn our head to the side and look at what other people are doing from that sense of competition, but look ahead to what we're doing. And maybe my final thought would be is to make yourself aware of all the resources that are available to you.
And then just to also add to that is that, listener, it is true that you may be going through challenges, but let it also be true that you are not going to be limited and stopped by by those challenges. You've just got to see yourself over and above that and move on into better and greater things you want to do for yourself. But in all that you do, make sure you develop your skills, and your skills going to help you out. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lord Deane. Thank you, Deane, for your time and expertise. Friends, these are just, some of the major challenges and opportunities facing people today. There are many more that you can explore and learn about. I hope this helps you to understand some of the issues that matter at this age and how you can cope with the challenges you face in your life and work. Thank you for listening to this podcast. Our expectation is that you will find it inspiring and informative. If you have any question, comment, or inquiry, please feel free to visit our website at www.skillsmindset.com. Leave us a message and one of our team will reach out to you as soon as possible. And I urge you to subscribe to this podcast so that you don't miss any episode, and kindly share it as well. I charge you to embrace every moment with courage and optimism. Continue to pursue your dreams with knowledge and relentless passion. Until next time, take care and stay focused. Bye for now. Thank you so much, Deane.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.